Let's do it. We got Natasha Leggero on the show. I love this whole aesthetic you've got here.
Oh, thank you.
Like we basically, doing everything over Zoom, all we get to really kind of judge on is based on the background. And I would say you might be like number one on the list. This is a scene right here.
Well, I've done a lot of game shows, and I will save my money from game shows and pay for wallpaper. So.
We just interviewed Jake, and he was in a cabin that he built during a pandemic.
He built a cabin during the pandemic?
Yeah. That was an asshole move. It's like a full wooden, like, mini house.
It's beautiful. Where? In his backyard.
Such a dick.
What?
Yeah.
He said,
I wasn't sure. I thought he was fucking with us at first. And he was like, yeah, I went on YouTube and I used to, work construction as a kid and I built this house. I was like, what the fuck, man?
That is amazing.
Yeah, it was impressive. But I like yours better.
Than my wallpaper.
I like it better. I like the couch too. The white leather. It's a whole look,
Okay, thanks.
Yeah, when you say legendary glamour, I think that's what this is right here. I like it.
Okay, good. Pulling it off.
We did just wrap up with Jake, and he was talking about the cast of the new show Hoops, and he talked about how he wanted to. The cast was so important to him to make sure that everybody was top notch, and he repeatedly described you as a comedic killer. Like you are just an assassin. And I really feel like that is not only appropriate for you, but that's got to be one of like the best compliments you could be paid, right?
I mean, that's so nice. And I think that Jake has he really does have good taste because the cast is awesome. And I've been telling other people, because we've been doing more interviews, it's very unique to be able to get to be working with like all comedic people. Like no one's really an actor. It's all like, even if they don't do stand-up like Cleo, she's writing her own movies. And, it's like we all just have like comic minds. And so that's just always preferred to like actors who read lines.
Right. I mean, is it, can you tell when, like you get a role and then you see who else is involved? Are you like, oh shit, this is going to be something like different from my other project. Like this is going to be a real one.
Yeah. And I think that when you are deciding what to do, a lot of times, it's obviously the project, but then second to that, to me, is the people, because also when you're busy, sometimes you can't do everything. So it's like, do I want to be working with these people? And for this, it was definite yes. And I was saying earlier too, when I first moved to Hollywood and I would go to auditions before I was a comedian, I would sit in the room and I was like, maybe this isn't what I want to do. You talk to the other actors and everyone's kind of like, whatever. And then all of a sudden one day I went on like a comedy audition and everybody was like doing bits in the waiting room. And there was like such great energy and I'm laughing hysterically. And then you go in together and you improvise. And I was like, who are these people?
Yeah,
this is what I want to
do. Yeah.
So, Jake has great vision. And him and Ben created this together and they're old friends too. So I just think everything's very organic. And, everyone, we would have table reads for this every week. And everyone in the cast, me, Rob Riggle, Jake, Cleo, A.D. Miles, Ron Funches, a lot of us have like known each other for decades. And so, we've just been doing shows together and that kind of thing. So it's really cool to be a part of it.
Jake was talking about being in the booth with you where he said, sometimes because you play the ex-wife, right?
Yeah, I play Shannon, his ex-wife. And it was originally pitched as sort of a Sam and Diane situation where like, they kind of love to hate each other. Mm-hmm. But I would say this is that plus like, my roasting persona added in because she's like so mean to him. And, those relationships you have a lot of times, hopefully we get over them in high school, but, just that person who you just can't quite rid yourself of.
Yeah. Everybody's got at least one of those.
Yeah.
Yep.
Well, I was wondering how much, because he said that, sometimes the line wouldn't be written so well and you would get in there and you'd really punch it up and you'd really let loose. I was wondering how much of that is things you wish you could say at home. And you're like, you know what? I'm going to take it out on this fake husband.
I got to say this, if this was pre-pandemic, I would say I'm in a very healthy relationship. But my husband, I have seen him do things that I wasn't aware of. I didn't know this was part of his personality. He is he called himself a chain chewer of Nicorette. And he is constantly has like 3 or 4 Nicorettes in his, just like at all times, just with the saliva, like chomping and chomping. And then I was roasting him earlier last night.
At that point, just start smoking cigarettes. If you're going to be chomping on the gum, you might as well just smoke cigs.
Well, we have a small child, so I'm glad he's not doing that, but I am debating convincing him to start vaping again.
Nicorette gives you a good zoom. Nicorette, sends you flying. You buzz good.
The vaping is great. I think that now all of the research is being put into like a vaccine. So people have kind of stopped doing the vape research, which I would really like more info on, because I would love for him to stop chewing in bed.
The vaping as a whole is like one of the crazy, like we all just started smoking electronic cigarettes. There's no way, like a healthy alternative to tobacco. No shot. There's no shot that's better for you than tobacco.
I know. And then my husband also does this thing that I didn't even know was a thing, where after he eats a snack, like a big thing of popcorn, he then was drinking the dust. And I'm sure you guys, I've never seen anyone do that. And
sorry.
For a long time.
You're missing out. It's like the best part.
No, I've seen that shit ever since elementary school. People like drinking all the sugar at the bottom of like a Sour Patch Kids. Those people are all in jail. I saw a kid.
He's sober, so he loves that kind of candy. So I'm sure he does it with that too.
One time when I was like 7 years old, I watched a kid snort that. Like we were children. We didn't even really know what snorting things was. And he's like, I'm just going to fucking bang down a rail of Pixie Sticks right now real quick.
Boys will be boys.
Drinking with the dust in bed, that just took it to a new level. So what was the question? I forgot.
I don't even know.
I think it had to do with, is it like my relationship?
Not like it, but just 2 parts. The things you wish you could say come out.
Exactly.
I mean, you got an interesting relationship with Moshe Kasher, who I'm fascinated by comedic couples, because I think, comedians are, you guys are all weirdos. You're all nuts. And your minds are always, especially you, being so, in so many roasts. Like, I just feel like you're constantly like thinking about one-upping each other. Are you constantly joking, cracking jokes at each other? Or is it one of those things like we leave work at home and when we're, you're hanging out eating dinner, you're not in comic mode?
I think it's a mix. I think, it's nice to have someone who's always there that you can say the darkest thing to and they'll laugh.
Absolutely.
But then I would say that is probably mixed with a lot of nagging and a lot of, discussions about a lot of requests, maybe a little mansplaining of how he wants things to be done, and a little nagging of how I want things to be done. It's like you got a roommate, and now it's like he used to be on the road for 5 days here and there, and now that none of that. I mean, I don't think it's healthy for couples to not leave the house. So, I definitely think this pandemic is a trying time for all the different levels. I think single people have their own unique things they need to get through. Like the positives are you all of a sudden have more time to, I know there's a lot of people out there who are essential workers and they're like the real heroes of all of this, but people who are single going through this, not being able to touch anyone, people who are in the beginning of a relationship and now really getting to know people like me with kids who now I don't have any help. So I'm like, I was never expecting to be a full-time mom.
I
didn't sign up for this.
Yeah, seriously, if that was not your plan and you get thrust into that is a motherfucker. That is no joke.
But it does come with the territory, so I'm kind of doing this on my own right now. And obviously it's hard for me to finish my creative things that I'm doing. And my husband's working full time now, writing on a show on Zoom. So, I'm constantly trying to figure it out and also debating how important it is for me to not get the coronavirus.
Let me just weigh the risks here, the pros and cons. Has there been a change in your comedic style as you became a mom? Is that something that changes? I mean, I know a lot of things, motherhood can change a lot, but is your comedic style or your sense of humor changed at all?
Well, in terms of my sense of humor, I used to always pitch dead baby jokes. And I remember there would always be like older people in the room or producers, and they're like, no, we're not doing that. And I would always be like, why? What are you afraid of? But like, I don't really think that's funny anymore either.
Right. What is with that? What was with the pandemic of dead baby jokes? Like when we were in high school, it's all we said to each other. Just
I know.
Dead baby jokes.
I know. And I was always thinking it was so funny. Oh yeah, that baby should like drown in a well. That would be hilarious. And like, I do kind of get as the world becomes more dark and as I have become a mother, and all of a sudden your main job on this earth has become to like protect this innocent angel who is, this like font of positivity that doesn't know who Trump is. So it's such a special thing to even be able to be around these people. So I'm really happy about that. But has it changed my comedy? For sure, because, as a comedian, at least the kind of comedy I do, I'm responding and reacting to what's happening to me. And so becoming a mother with this particular person too, it's kind of fraught with, it is kind of all I think about. So most of my new material, at least before this happened, was all about being a mom. And how I'm dealing with it in this very particular, I froze my eggs when I was 37 and then I had a baby at 42. So, my life was already very established and, and I think there are more and more people like me who are kind of waiting. My mom had her 3 kids when she was 23. And I think, now it's like, and she hadn't really discovered herself or figured out anything what she wanted from life. She was, the kids become your life. But for people like me, who your life is already this thing, and now you're having a baby to fit into your life, it doesn't always fit how you want. So it's definitely an area that I've, find very stimulating for comedy.
This podcast, like the first like big moment we had, somebody called up the show and said, would you put a baby in a microwave for just 1 second? Just 1 second. It can't possibly do anything for $10,000. And, at the time we're all like, yeah, 1 second doesn't do anything. You can't cook anything. And then I had a kid and I was like, all right, I don't know if I can do this joke anymore. I mean, it was like everyone.
Also, like, you kind of got
microwave. And I was like,
and it's just not worth it.
Yeah. The roasting is kind of such a unique thing to, there's certain people in the industry though, who like, it's just they're, I guess, is it like, it just clicks for you? Are you just like when you see people, we work with a guy who's he does battle rap and he's the nicest guy in the world, but he says he's always just kind of looking at people and like undressing them and figuring out what exactly he would say. Does your mind kind of just work like in roast mode?
Yeah, and it is an issue because I'm sure it's a glitch. I mean, it's probably not a healthy thing. Like if I do my job right with my kid, she won't be like that.
Right.
So, it's not something I strive for my child, but it is definitely something that I see that a lot of comedians have, which is like, maybe if I had to psychoanalyze myself, it's from having like, a dark feeling when you're young and you think everything's great. And then all of a sudden you realize it's not, and your innocence is taken away. And so now as you go through life, you're just like always able to see like, what's the darkest thing that could happen? What's the craziest thing that would be like funny and also you are really critical of people around you, or at least I am. So I try to not go too hard on people, especially if it's things they can't control. But, for comedy's sake, sometimes it's fun.
Are you typically outwardly critical of people, or you just say it in your head? Like on a daily basis?
On a daily basis, that's one of the downsides of being married to a comedian, because you say it to them. But yeah, I try to, especially now I'm trying to be positive. Obviously, this is like a really hard time for people, and I have it better than so many people. Being able to quarantine is a luxury, and obviously it's boring and stifling, but at the same time, I'm able to stay safe, and, a lot of people are risking their lives. So I'm just trying to really keep that into perspective. And and also I'm just like completely enamored with this younger generation, like the people who are out there fighting for Black Lives Matter, and the people who are, hopefully going to be my kids' generation fighting for the environment, like this is a very inspiring, I feel like my generation is a little more apathetic and I'm just like, I'm really excited for it. So I try to not like talk shit on them too much.
Well, I was going to say that is probably kind of like a hot take in the sense that I think most of the time people are making fun of like the TikTok and like that element of their generation, but they probably are, there's probably a lot more good than bad, but I don't think it's anybody ever wants to admit that. Everybody thinks, their generation is smarter, better.
What do you think was out there? Like when you look at these aerial shots of Hollywood Boulevard during a pandemic and all of these like young people out there fighting for the rights of, their friends and their community, I think that's just so powerful. Like I wasn't really willing to risk my life with my child,
that's a tough moment. I had that where I was like walking home from work and there was like a march going on and I was just like, I think I'm just going to go home, but I feel like a real piece of shit about it at least.
My husband begged me to go and I'm just like, I don't know if that's the right thing to do with our family. And, it was, but anyway, the point is like, those were generally young people, I think. And I think that it's just so inspiring.
Yeah, I couldn't really think of anything. And that's probably because I've lived like such a charmed life, but it was like nothing that I would protest for or rally for. I was like, I'm just going to watch from a distance, but because I'm probably lucky enough to do just that. Right.
Yeah. I just think that, as the world becomes a little more dire, perspectives shift and change. And, now I'm doing a show where I make fun of houses. So, so that's actually like, that feels like a safe area.
Yeah, you get canceled for that. I think you're good in that department, right?
Well, it's always challenging, but
do you think if you were doing like your brand of comedy and some of like the crazy roast shit now, do you think you would be kind of in hot water with the way the landscape of comedy has shifted? Like, would you still have let it fly as much as you used to if it was all happening under this like atmosphere?
Well, I mean, you kind of got to see like there aren't any roasts happening right now, and like, it's maybe everyone's just taking a beat. I don't know. I mean, personally, I think it's just a personal thing, and like for me, I always felt a little strange doing the roasts because a lot of times you have to like make fun of people who are like way more famous than you that you've never even met, so it is kind of like a little more of a sport almost.
Right. Well, I feel like in the beginning, like roasts originally, I feel like it was a panel of, the friends and family of the person on the dais. And then it just became a thing like, she's really good at it, so we're just going to keep inviting her back. And, like those people, when they don't know you, they've got to be like, fuck you. Right? Like, and even afterwards, I'm sure they shake hands, you give them a hug, they get it. They have a good sense of humor. Yeah. But they also can't like that when it's coming from someone they don't know. Right.
That's the thing. And then once I had a kid, I was like, I don't know because the problem with the roast is you don't just get to do it. You have to receive it. And so like, I was having a kid and I was in my 40s and I was like, oh my God, they're going to like make fun of my baby. And I don't know. I just started to get like really protective. And
right.
So now I just, roast people behind closed doors.
Like the rest of us, just like normal people. So now you got hoops. And Jake had kind of said, stereotypically people say it's easier work. You just get in the booth and you record and get your money, which I do believe is kind of the perception from like a fan's point of view. Like it's much easier or less work. What do you think on that? Is it easier? Is it harder? Is it something you enjoy?
To do animated?
Yeah.
I mean, I'm not going to lie. It's like one of the best gigs you can have,
Yeah.
especially this one, because it was already funny. And then they added like all these amazing actors, comedic actors, and, you know, the cast. And what was really great about Jake and Ben is they were so involved. A lot of times you just go in this like booth and you're all by yourself and someone's just reading it and you're trying to manufacture the energy and the connection. But Jake was like always in the room and all my scenes are with him. So I feel like, you know, it just makes it 30% better. And so that was, you know, that was great. And yeah, I mean, it's an awesome job. It's so fun. And, you know, then someone else does the brilliant work of animating you and turning that into something that you would have never even thought of. So it's like, you're really taking the best of what everything has to offer. And it's such a collaboration. And, you know, for me, I love collaborating and that's kind of my favorite thing to do. So I'm really happy.
What do you think brought on? I feel like we're living in the age of like the R-rated comedy. I can't remember them as a kid. Maybe because I was a kid, I didn't watch them.
You mean cartoon, right?
Yeah. I'm sorry. I'm an R-rated cartoon. What do you think like brought on that?
Well, I guess it was kind of like the adult cartoon. I guess South Park is an adult cartoon, right?
That's true.
It's not really for kids because it's satire. So I don't know. I mean, I find those guys brilliant, and Book of Mormon is also like one of my favorite things I've ever seen. And I think that they're probably at the forefront of it without really thinking about it. You know,
that's true. Yeah, I'm not anti South Park. It never really grabbed me as much. Book of Mormon I actually didn't love. I was hungover in 17 when I saw it, so that probably
you didn't love it.
I remember I saw it in Providence. It had in Rhode Island. It had already had like tons of success on Broadway, and I went and I remember like just getting dressed in the mornings. We saw a matinee, and my mom yelling at me, and I was like, I'd been at a party the night before, and I was just like, this is.
How old are you? Are you like 17 or something?
I was at the time. I think I was probably, I forget exactly what age I was, but I think I was too young to drink, but was hungover. I'm 31 now, so it was a while ago. But
how you view something is everything. Like I saw it on Broadway with Andrew Reynolds and Josh Gad, and it was just like it. And I got a front row seat by myself. Like it was the only seat left, and so I just had like I just didn't know that you could be that subversive in Broadway, on Broadway. So, you know, I just thought that was so cool. But yeah, I think South Park maybe started it, and you know, maybe it does feel a little bit bad, like even worse than R-rated when you see cartoons, you know, whatever. So I know, I really think people are going to respond to that element of it.
Yeah. Nick, Jesus. Jake was like, he was saying that it's going to piss off everybody. He's like, it's R-rated. Everyone gets it. Excuse me. He's like, we're going to do, the left's going to be pissed at us. The right's going to be pissed at us. And he's like, he was like,
parents whose kids accidentally see it are going to be pissed at you.
Yeah. He was like, I just hope like people can be like, I can smoke a joint and drink a beer and just have a good time with like dick and vagina jokes.
Well, there are some of those.
Yeah. I think that's what he led with. He was like, that. In my mind, if there's any dialogue except for dick and vagina jokes, I'm going to be disappointed.
Do you feel, as a female comic, I feel like there's so much going on in comedy right now with Netflix and streaming services. As a viewer, I just start to think of it as comics. And I know for so long, it was like female comic. She's the funniest female comic, the most selling female comic. It was always kind of like a separate designation. Do you think that it's still that way? Or do you think it's like kind of everybody is just a comic now?
I mean, I think women in general are going to be coming up in all fields. You know, there aren't a lot of women directors because maybe women didn't believe they could be directors as much as men did, and they didn't go to school and they didn't learn how to do it, and they didn't put in the, 30,000 hours it takes. And, so I think now kids who are in high school age, I think they're going to hopefully have like a more open mind about like what they can, women, what they can go into, and that, you can do whatever you want to do. Because I mean, personally, I would way rather watch a woman on stage than a man. No offense, boys, but like I just find them more interesting, more relatable. Like when I see a movie and it's got like 5 or 6 male leads and like no women or maybe one hot chick, like I'm already out. I'm just not interested in their story. And you know, I think that I don't want to say women are more inherently interesting than men, but from a comedy perspective, I don't know. I'm a little more taken by that. So
You don't want to see an overweight middle-aged man sweat all over a stage? Why there's no appeal there?
I've definitely seen it before, but you know, I think it just that women are able to. I just want to be there to support the idea that women can do anything and everything, and that we are going to start enrolling in the programs and, you know, becoming directors and becoming, you know, women are already doing a lot of producing and they're so much better at it. No offense, but like,
no, none taken. You're correct. You're 100% right.
We get it.
no, but the more women that are involved, like I found in projects I've worked in, the women are always the best communicators and they're the best getting what you want from the network. And they're, you know, I just think that, you know, I now I forgot what the original question was. Are there,
I mean, I just think, you know, you're kind of one of the OGs and you've been doing it for so long. And I can remember a time where like those roast panels, it was all dudes and mostly, you know, just you or maybe one other. And so, you know, I feel like you kind of did pave the way, at least for this new, like the new modern generation. So I was wondering.
The more women that are in charge and the more women that are writing projects, the better, because they will have more women involved. You know, when men are doing things, they're like, okay, well, we need to have a woman on this show. And so, you know, I've often been, you know, all through starting stand-up. It's like, okay, and then we got to have a woman. Okay, you're the woman. And there was always like one woman, one person of color, you know, and then it was like all white men. And so I think that, you know, that's just shifting. And the more diverse, this is hard saying this to 2 white guys, but the more diverse things can become at the top, the more it will just kind of trickle down. So that's why I'm very pro women becoming writers and directors and producers and creating and studio heads and like, you know, just kind of opening it up to tell those stories, the stories that haven't been told. So
yeah, listen, we know as 2 white guys, we know we had a pretty good run. We've had it pretty good. So no,
you had a good run. It's over. There's still going to be some drippings for you always. You guys are going to be okay.
All right. Well, the new show is Hoops. It's out on Netflix August 21st. We thank you so much for the time and good luck. And your baby's beautiful.
Oh, thank you guys. And hey, you started it with the woman stuff. So, you know.
I opened up the door, you walk through it. I get it.
Okay. Thank you, guys.
Thanks, Natasha.
Bye.